In this lecture, we are going to study about type conversions. So in the previous lectures, we have already studied about the different types that we have in C++, and now we are going to see how type conversions occur. So we will see what actually is type conversions and when do they occur and what is the result of type conversions. Alright, so let's get started. So talking about type conversions, let us talk a little bit about types again. So we have already studied this, that the type of an object defines the data that an object might contain and what operations that object can perform. So we have already seen that the type of an object does this. But the type of an object, we can understand what is the data that can be contained in that object and what are the operations that we can perform on that object. So for example, we have integer type. So in integer type, we know that it can store integer values and we know what are the type of operations that we can perform on integer values. Now talking about the operations that can be performed on objects, one of the operations supported by many types is the ability to convert objects of the given type to other related types. So this is one of the operations that is supported by most of the types. And what is it? That is the ability to convert the object from one type to another type. Now, why do we need to convert an object from one type to another type? We will see as we move ahead. And this is the main reason why we are studying about type conversions. So the question that we were asking is, when do type conversions occur? When do objects need to convert from one type to another? Let's see. Type conversions happen automatically when we use an object of one type where an object of another type is expected. So this is when type conversions occur. That is, we are expecting one type of an object, but what actually is provided is another type. So let me take an example. Let's say that we have declared an integer variable and then we know that integer variables can take only integer values. But when we are assigning value to that integer variable, let's say that we have assigned a value with a decimal. Now we know that integers cannot take decimal values. Now we see that the variable was expecting an integer value, but what we assigned was a decimal value or a floating point type. Now this is when type conversion has to take place. So let us see what happens when we assign a value of one type to an object of another type. So we are going to take some examples in order to understand this in a better way. So we are going to see what will happen when we have an object of a particular type, but we assign value of another type. So then we will see how the type conversions take place, and these examples will help us understand type conversions in a better way. Okay, so let's proceed to the examples. So we are going to see assigning one arithmetic type to another. That means we are going to have a variable of a particular type, but we are going to assign value of another type. And we will see what happens when this is done. So here are the examples. So here, first of all, I am declaring a Boolean variable. So bool and then the name of the variable is b. Now we know that Boolean variables can take only two values, that is either true or false. So we have already studied that Boolean values are going to take either true or false. But here, instead of true or false, I am assigning the value 35 to this Boolean variable. So that means essentially I am assigning an integer value to this Boolean type. So we need to see what will happen. Okay, next. Here I have an integer variable which is named I, and we know that integer variables need to take integer values. But here I am assigning b to it. Now what is b? B is actually a variable of the Boolean type. So I am assigning a Boolean type into this integer object I. Now we need to see what will happen. So we will see as we move ahead. Now again, we have this I. Now what was I? I is an integer. Now to this I am assigning a floating point value. That means a value with a decimal, 3.14. Now we know that integers cannot take decimal values. Now what is going to happen in this scenario? That also we need to find out, because I is actually an integer. Alright. Now we have another variable called pi, which is of the type double. Now double can take floating point values as well. And now to this double, I am assigning the value I. Now what is I? I was an integer to which we assigned a floating point value. Now this is assigned to this pi again. Now we need to see what will happen here as well. Okay. And lastly, we have an unsigned character C and we are assigning -1 to it. So this is a character named C which is unsigned. Now when we specifically or explicitly mention it is unsigned, then it is not supposed to support sign. That means it is not going to be able to take negative values. But I am actually assigning a negative value to it. Now here also we need to see what is going to happen. So in all these cases, we need to see how the type conversions are going to take place. Okay. So here in this lecture, I am not going to go to the Visual Studio Code and run the program, but I am going to explain to you how the type conversions are taking place, and then I want to give you a task, that is, you have to write the program yourself in your system and see for yourself how the type conversions are occurring. So the explanation part I am going to tell you in this lecture. Okay, so let us go one by one, starting with this bool b equal to 35. Okay, so bool b equal to 35. Now, if I run this in a program and if I try to print the value of this b, what is going to be the output? The output is going to be b is true. So, b is going to have the value true. Now, what happened here? B was equal to 35. And when we printed, the value is true. Now, why did this happen? Let's see. When we assign one of the non-bool arithmetic types to a bool object, the result is false if the value is 0 and true otherwise. So what it means is that if we have a Boolean type variable or a Boolean type object, and to it if we assign a non-bool arithmetic type. So here we see 35 is not a Boolean arithmetic type, it is an integer type. So we are assigning an integer type to a Boolean type. So whenever we assign a non-bool arithmetic type to a bool object, the result will be given as false if this value is 0, and in all other cases it will be true. So here we see that 35 is the value that is given. It is not 0, it is 35. So the value should be true, and that is why b has the value true. So in case we wrote bool b equal to 0 and then if we printed the value of b, then it would have given false. So here we see the type conversion taking place. Now let's go to the next one. So the next one was integer I is equal to b. So this was the next one that we had in the example. Now remember, b was that Boolean variable that we had, that Boolean type that we had. And what did we assign to b? We assigned 35. And what did we get the output? The output was true. Now that same thing we are assigning back to this variable called I of the type integer. Now what will be the output of this? If you want, you can take a moment to pause and think about it. So the answer to this is I has the value 1. So if we print the value of this I, it is going to print 1. Now why did this happen? Let's see what explains this. When we assign a bool to one of the other arithmetic types, the resulting value is 1 if the bool is true and 0 if the bool is false. So here we see that we are assigning a Boolean type to an integer object. Now what will happen here? It will give the value 1 if the bool is true and 0 if the bool is false. Now in the previous example, we saw that the final value of b was equal to true. That is what we saw in the previous slide. So b is actually true. Now if you assign that to an integer, it will give 1 if it is true. So we saw that it was true, and that is why it has the value 1. I will have the value 1. And in case b was false, then if you try to print this value of I, it would have given 0 because it will be 0 if the bool is false. So here again we see the type conversion taking place. Okay, so now let's go to the next one. So the next one is I is equal to 3.14. Now if you remember, I was an integer. I is the integer that we had in the previous slide and in our example. Now to this integer variable, we are assigning a decimal value that is 3.14. So what will be the output here? You must have guessed it. I has the value 3. So we know that integers cannot take decimal values. So the decimal part will be ignored and then only this 3 will be taken. So I has the value 3. So when we assign a floating point value to an object of integral type, the value is truncated. So that floating point or this value after this decimal point will be truncated, which means it will be removed. So the value that is stored is the part before the decimal point. So that is why we have 3 over here. So again we see type conversion taking place over here. Okay, so now let's go to the next one. Now here in the next one we have double pi is equal to I. Now pi is a variable of the type double. Now double can take decimal values as well, but we are assigning I to it. Now what is I? I was the integer that we had in the previous slide. And what was the final value of I when we printed it? We said that I had the value 3 because the decimal part was truncated in the previous slide. Okay, so I has the value 3. Now if I assign that 3, which is an integer, to a double type variable pi, what will happen? Pi will have the value 3.0. Now why does this happen? This happens because pi is of the type double, which is expecting a value with a decimal, but since we are only assigning I, which is an integer having the value 3, so it is going to write it as 3.0 because we know that 3.0 actually means 3. So when we assign an integral value to an object of floating point type, the fractional part is always 0. So this is what happens. Now, as I said, you need to try these in your system. So all the examples that we have discussed till now, before this, you will get the same output as we have discussed. But for this one, you may not get the exact value as 3.0 when you print it in your compiler, because the compiler will usually ignore this extra 0.0 because 3.0 actually means 3 itself. So I want you to get this value as 3.0 itself. I want you to get 3.0 as the output when you write this program and run it. So you may have to write some extra code to that, and that is again your task. Find out what is the extra code that you need to write in order to get exactly 3.0. So that is also your task. Okay, now let's go to the last one. Now the last one is unsigned character C is equal to -1. So here we have a variable C of the type character which is unsigned, and now we are assigning -1 to it. So when it is unsigned, it is not supposed to take the negative signs. Now what will happen here? Assuming 8-bit characters, C has the value 255. Now if we assume that the characters that is supported in this system is of 8 bits, then C will have the value 255. Now why is this? This we have already discussed when we studied about the signed and unsigned types. So let me explain it quickly again. When we have -1, we have to convert it to the binary equivalent. So ignore this minus for now, and 1 can be written in binary in 8-bit format like this: 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. And now in order to convert it to the -1, we need to convert this binary equivalent to the 2's complement. So how to convert it to 2's complement? In order to convert it to 2's complement, we need to first convert it to the 1's complement by inverting all the bits. So all the zeros will be converted to 1's and all the 1 will be converted to 0. So this is the 1's complement. Now in order to get the 2's complement, we need to add 1 to it. So when we add 1 to this 1's complement that we got, we get the value 11111111. Now if you convert it back to decimal, we get the value 255. So this unsigned char C equal to -1 will have the value 255. So C will hold the value 255. Now again, when you run this in your system or in your compiler, you are not going to see this value 255 printed as it is, because this is a character. Now it is going to print the equivalent character which is represented by 255 in the ASCII format or whatever format it is following. So again, when you run this, you are not going to see 255, you are going to see some character. So essentially, let me give you a clue, you are going to see a blank character. So don't be confused, because 255 actually represents a blank character. So you can refer the ASCII sheet in order to confirm it. So again, this is your task to run it and to find out what is the output. So you can take all these examples and write it into a single program and you can see what are the outputs. So this is your task and that will help you understand in a better way how type conversions occur. So with this, I hope you have understood what are type conversions, how they occur, and also I hope you have understood the examples that shows how type conversions takes place. So thank you for watching this lecture. See you in the next one.